We're back at it again with another Battlefront update. Is it just me, or does it feel like almost yesterday we got a big game update? And now we're already talking about details on the next upcoming update dropping in a few weeks' time. But hey, I guess that's only normal when DICE puts out 2 updates in a span of 1 month. Fortunately, we won't have to wait too long for a new patch, as on Friday we learned Battlefront 2 will be getting a surprise patch coming out next week. In addition to this, we've got a bunch of new hero-specific news to go over, DICE's response on the whole Galactic Assault controversy, and some brand new teases and leaks featuring the original trilogy season content, such as, maybe new OT reinforcements. As always, we'll be covering all of this and more in today's video. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting out with the patch news that we really only found out recently on Friday, community manager Ben Walk announced via social media that Battlefront 2 will be getting a small patch sometime next week. He didn't provide much detail on what exactly that patch will have, but did specify that it'll be mostly focusing on bug fixes and balancing tweaks such as damage reduction to Darth Vader. He afterwards went on to say that it'll also include a fix to resolve some of the issues around hit registration as well. Of course, we will be getting a lot of bug fixes and balance tweaks in the 2nd February game update, as is usually the case for game updates. However, having said that, it's good to see DICE are staying on top of these things and are already giving us additional fixes at a much sooner release date as well. On the other hand, it's no surprise that the last sequel trilogy update caused some annoying bugs and imbalance amongst units and heroes, to the point where a lot of people have gone online to complain about it and get DICE's attention. And well, looks like that has worked, so I'm glad now we don't have to wait several weeks to get these in-game issues sorted out. Rather, just wait until next week. Next, let's jump into the hero news I mentioned before, as I've got a strong hunch that some of this may even be appearing in next week's patch. DICE hero designer Guillaume Raz went to social media this week to talk about some of the new things he's been working on, teasing players on the upcoming hero changes that should likely be appearing in the next big game update later this month. The first hero change he revealed is regarding charges, as Guillaume wants to make sure that now all charge attacks are directed by the player's camera, rather than by the orientation of the body of the hero being played. For anyone unsure, think about Han Solo's or BB-8's charge attacks, where they charge forward in the direction where their body is facing rather than where the camera is looking. Another big change Guillaume revealed are reworks for not only Chewbacca, but as well with Iden Versio and Boba Fett too. More specifically, weapon reworks for Chewie's Bowcaster, Iden's Pulse Cannon, and Boba's Concussion Rocket. At the moment, he's got no release date or details on what or how these reworks will entail, but it's definitely something we're gonna have to keep our eyes on. Lastly, remember that Leia rework Guillaume teased a while ago? Well, now we've got a better idea of what Guillaume meant when he said DICE will be buffing one ability, modifying the second, and completely reworking the third for Leia. Because in a tweet, Guillaume teased about Leia getting a thermal detonator, which now has led us to believe Leia's flash grenade will be modified to be a thermal detonator instead, along with her E11 potentially getting a buff, leaving her shield ability likely getting a modification or being replaced altogether. Seeing as Guillaume stated that the Leia changes are being beta tested now, then it's possible they could appear in the 2nd February update or as early as next week's patch. Then again, I think this might be something a bit too big to drop into next week's patch, so I personally wouldn't count on it, but hey, anything is possible. On the other hand, Guillaume did talk about something which we know for sure will be in the small patch, and that is the tweaks coming to Darth Vader, which now will see his damage reduction when using Force Choke will be decreased from 75% to 20%. However, if this damage reduction remains too strong, then DICE could completely remove it. Next, let's talk about a topic near and dear to many players' hearts, and that is Galactic Assault. If you've noticed in the latest game update, and if you're a fan of Galactic Assault, then you most definitely did, but DICE have low-key removed Galactic Assault from the main multiplayer menu, shoving it to the back with all the other game modes with the low player counts. Suffice to say, this rubbed many players the wrong way, especially those who were unaware that DICE had been slowly ignoring the mode more and more with each update. I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but I literally warned and told people that this was going to happen since last summer, where I kept saying that DICE are slowly changing their main focus to capital supremacy, and Galactic Assault is old news to them. The evidence on this was clear as daylight, but I guess not everyone picked up on this until they really pushed Galactic Assault into the later menus in the last update. Anyways, DICE did respond to the questions and general paranoia regarding this decision, and here's what they had to say. Supremacy, co-op, and heroes versus villains are our primary focus. Since March last year, we've been focusing on Supremacy and HVV, and then later in 2019 we added co-op into the mix. Each of these modes offer players something unique, whether that's large-scale combat of Supremacy or the hero element of HVV. Supremacy has become our primary mode. It's received numerous updates throughout last year, has just received another major update, and will surely be joined by Original Trilogy update with Scarif at the forefront. As a result of this, it makes sense for us to focus on this mode, which is why I'm sure you can understand why it has the place it does within the UI. With regards to Galactic Assault, this isn't to say that nobody is playing it. It still retains a healthy player base. You shouldn't be having a problem finding a lobby anytime today. The only change here is the position within the overall UI setup. We're confident those that enjoy Galactic Assault will continue to do so. So yeah, it's pretty much official. Supremacy is now the main flagship mode of Battlefront 2, and it's going to stay this way for the rest of this game's lifespan. Galactic Assault used to be the main mode, but ever since DICE saw how well everyone reacted to Capital Supremacy back in last March, then it's of little surprise how all their focus was shifted there, as it pretty much was the mode which helped bring the game back to life from the dead. So I honestly can't blame them. However, I do feel for the Galactic Assault sweaties, as this has effectively ruled out any more future content for that mode. Finally, let's go over the juicy new teases and leaks for the Original Trilogy season. And yeah, I know, it's not officially called a season as DICE aren't doing seasons anymore per se, but that's what I'm gonna call it. The last 2 months for me were basically the sequel trilogy season, while February and March will pretty much be the Original Trilogy season in my eyes. Anyway, for those of you like me who never really were satisfied with the Death Troopers not getting their proper weapons in the game, then we may be in luck. Because on Reddit this week when someone posted an image of a mod featuring a Death Trooper holding up their iconic E11D, someone then followed up by talking down on DICE, asking how a modder can pull this off and yet the pros at DICE can't. And this is when Ben Walk stepped in and replied with a simple shocked face emoji. Now, while this at a glance may not mean much to everyone who's been in the Battlefront 2 community for quite some time now, then this looks to be a very obvious tease by Ben that Death Troopers could be very likely getting E11Ds in the Original Trilogy season. And that's mainly considering because he's acted and done similar things in teasing future content like this in the past. So keeping that in mind, then yeah, I think there's a very good chance of the E11D making its way into the game. Especially with Scarif from Rogue One being such a big part of the season, then it'd be bonkers for DICE to not give Death Troopers their iconic weapons. Next, after that, it seems like several folks in the community have uncovered some very interesting leaked reveals in the game code for the Original Trilogy season. More specifically for the new reinforcements. Known Battlefront 2 game hacker Mophead found animations for the supposed new Imperial and Rebel reinforcements. And while they're a little bare now, they do give us some idea of what these new reinforcements will be. The first one appears to be a female dual-wielding blaster reinforcement similar to the ARC Troopers. According to Mophead, they have a front-end pose, one victory pose, melee animations, and a sprint animation so far. Given the lack of emotes and there only being one victory pose, Mophead believes that this is very unlikely that this is meant to be a new hero, but rather only a reinforcement instead. On the topic of potential future content, Mophead also pointed out that there was an unusual text reference added in the December game update called Imperial Agent. which, if I were to speculate, then I would guess that may have something to do with the new leaked female reinforcement animations. And who knows, we can maybe be getting a female ISB agent for the Empire as a reinforcement, which to be fair would be a pretty unique and diverse choice. And you know, give us some content from Rebels, which we've been asking for quite some time now. Plus, female ISB agents are also canon too, and as we've seen of Agent Kallus in Rebels, then they could offer something different gameplay-wise too. The second animation set seems to be for a potential Ewok reinforcement. Now, Ewoks cannot be seen in the front end during Ewok Hunt, and this animation set is separate from the one used by Ewoks in that said mode, so it is likely that they won't be the same gameplay-wise. It should also be noted that DICE did tease in the past about adding Ewoks as a potential Rebel reinforcement, but also stated that if Ewoks were playable outside of Ewok Hunt, then they would obviously play very differently. So they could very well be doing that here now. Last but not least, if you're gaming on the Xbox, then this next news should be very relevant for you, as DICE are now very aware of the frequent crashes the Xbox version of Battlefront 2 has been facing since the latest update, and are currently working on finding a solution. Now, whether this is something they can do in the backend or are reliant on next week's patch to solve still remains to be seen. Either way, no need to worry about it too much now, as it shouldn't be a problem for you much longer. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.